Howdy, welcome to TBKHomeworld, and in this video we're going to be talking about the dreaded return process. So anybody who's been in the tool world for a while has definitely run into some tools that are having issues. Sometimes it's easy to return, sometimes it's difficult to return, but I specifically wanted to call out one store that's actually gone well above and beyond, in my opinion, with the return process, and that's Harbor Freight. One of the things I like to do with my tools is I actually like to have my metrics, this nice anodized color, and then I have my SAE as the traditional chrome. Well, I've had these sets for quite a while, not these particular ones, but ones just like it. And I absolutely love these ratcheting wrenches. Yeah, there's some problems with it, and I've had some of the paws break on them, but generally speaking, these are good tools. Now, what happened to me was I left these tools in a toolbox and they started to rust on me. And a couple of them, I had the paws break on me. I took these wrenches to my local Harbor Freight and I was going to exchange them. And I took all of the tools in and I set them on the counter, and they kind of laughed and said, "Wow, you've gotten some usage out of these." And they looked them over and they said, "Well, typically we just replace the ones that are broken." The only ones that worked right on these at that point, due to rust and due to other issues, were actually the two smaller ones. The four larger ones all had issues with them. Now on the SAEs, I had 3 of them that were bad and 4 that were still good. And these were all due to rust. I didn't have any paw issues with these. Now, whenever I took them up there, they said, "Yeah, typically we're just going to replace the ones that are bad." But they saw that I had the complete set. They said, "You know what? Since you have the complete set, let's just go ahead and swap everything for you." Because obviously something is going on with the process with these particular wrenches. We don't want the rest of them to get rusted or have problems with the paws. So they exchanged everything for me. And previously, whenever I have taken in sets, for example, back in the day with Sears Craftsman, I'd taken the entire set. They would just replace the items that were completely damaged, not those that already had some rounding outs within the sockets or screwdrivers that started to have problems. They said, "Nope, it's got to be a full failure before we replace it." So shout out to Harbor Freight for replacing these. Because they saw issues with the other ones, they went ahead and replaced the whole thing. So kudos to them for that one. The other thing that I did at the same time was I returned some of the Harbor Freight jack stands. For those of you who don't know it, there is some Harbor Freight jack stands that have a recall with them. It was a very easy process. I walked up with the jack stands. They verified which one, told me how much cash credit I could get or store credit I could get for them. And so I ended up using that to buy some other stuff while I was there. The process is extremely simple to return those jack stands that are known to have issues. We'll have the link in the description below in case you're wondering if yours are on the list or not. The last thing that I did an exchange on was these 2 half-inch Pittsburgh torque wrenches. Now, the reason I have 2 of these isn't because they're mine. One is mine and one is my son's. Mine was actually a very old one. It was in the red box, which dates back for a very, very long time. That's over a decade old. They were very surprised to see it come in. They said typically they don't have problems. Well, my issue was at 150 foot-pounds, it didn't like it anymore after all of the stress I'd put it through over the years, and the paw failed on it. Obviously, we're seeing a consistent issue here with some paws going with the Pittsburgh tool. And interestingly enough, we had a failure with the other one, and it was 110 foot-pounds that it had a failure with. We tried to look at it, we tried to get it back into position, but immediately the paw would fall out of rotation. It would not set properly within the head. Same as before, extremely simple to return. Now, you can debate all day long if you want to as to if these are even worth the money, and I completely understand if you choose not to go with these and you get a digital Quinn or the digital icon. I highly recommend you check out the recent video that just came out from Todd over at Project Farm. He does a very good job of actually going into if that icon torque wrench is worth it or not. But once again, my exchange process on this was extremely simple. I showed them the torque wrenches. They even went to the shelf and got them for me. They had everything up front ready for me to go once I came back with the other merchandise I wanted to return. Now, this may just be my particular store. However, I've never had an issue returning to any of the Harbor Freights that I've ever been into. They've always been cordial and very polite whenever it comes to tool returns. What I found interesting was they didn't even question how they were damaged, why they were damaged. They simply looked at it and said, okay, we'll take your word for it. Let's go ahead and get you a new tool. Now, all these were broken or had rust problems on their own accord. It wasn't me causing excessive damage, but I did appreciate the fact that they didn't need the stories behind them. I gave them to them anyway, but they didn't require a story behind what was going on with the tools whenever they failed. So how do you do with your return process? Is your local Harbor Freight just as good? Let us know in the comments down below. I would love to hear if this is a store-wide policy, if you have just as easy of a return, or if this was something special with my particular store. Also, let me know in the comments below of tool stores that you have problems with who don't support your returns. I've been hearing some stories about Lowe's and some of the older Craftsman tools that were purchased from Sears. I haven't tried an exchange through them yet, but I am definitely interested in giving that a go and seeing if they will support some of my old screwdrivers, especially some of my old number 2 Phillips that have some bad heads on them now, and will they actually support them in a full exchange process. So after you let us know how your exchanges are going, definitely leave any additional comments down there that you want to about any other videos that we made or anything that you want to see us talk about. We definitely love hearing from people around the world. It's absolutely amazing some of the engagement we've been getting lately, and we appreciate it when you take the time to leave those comments. And we read every single comment, whether if it's one on one video or if it's 300 on another video, we will read all of those comments, and we appreciate that you leave them, especially amazing comments like this one. Thank you very much for leaving that comment. And remember, keep your tools sharp and your batteries charged. We'll catch you on the next one.